Good afternoon. The last few classes we discussed and learnt flow of water through soil. To begin with, we learnt the Darcy's law. It is velocity is proportional to hydraulic gradient. Then we assumed that it is flow through soil is a laminar and it is turbulent in some of the specific cases. And also we discussed about the discharge velocity, seepage velocity. Then we discussed about determination of permeability. The flow through soil is termed as permeability, and with the definition, the ability of soil which permits water to flow through its voids is known as permeability. Based on permeability, we classified soil as a coarse grained soil and fine grained soil. It is the pervious soil and impervious soil. Next, we determined we learned how to determine permeability in the laboratory as well as in the field. The objective of knowing about the flow through of soil is to decide the structure which is coming on soil based on the flow pattern. It's very important to know about the permeability of soil for almost all the structures. If seepage is not the criteria, the amount of water flow, water passing through soil is not the criteria, there again it is we need how much amount water will flow and what is the required rate of flow. We can alter the ground condition so that we can permit the drainage to pass through easily. So when it is permitted, when water is permitted to pass through easily, then we can achieve the required strength. In some cases, we should avoid flow of water through soil. There also we should have a thorough idea about permeability, and we should decide the corrective measures, particularly in case of hydraulic structures. Now, let us discuss another concept. It is effective stress concept. To begin with, we introduced a geotechnical in the form of phase diagram, and if you consider soil phase diagram, if it is a three-phase system, soil, water, air. Again, depends upon what is there in the voids, we can also have the phase diagram for two-phase system, soil, water or air. If the voids are partly filled by water and partly by air, it is called as partially saturated system. If the voids are completely filled by water, it is called as saturated system, and if the voids are completely filled by air, it is again dry system. Whether soil is in partially saturated condition or saturated condition or dry condition, it will resist, or it should resist the load coming on it. When load coming on the soil as a partially saturated system, it will resist. And again, when load coming on a saturated soil or a dry soil, the soil will resist. When load coming on the partially saturated soil, here there is a resistance by the soil, water and air against the load, and that resistance we know. Resistance offered by a body or a material against the load is known as stress. So here the part of the load is received by soil and part of the load is received or resisted by water. Of course, the part is also resisted by air, it is a negligible one. Hence, for all practical purpose, so we can say that it is the load coming on the soil, partially saturated soil system, is resisted by soil and water jointly. Again, in this case, when load coming on this soil, it may be a saturated soil or a dry soil. If it coming on a saturated soil, this load coming on the soil, saturated soil, will be resisted by soil and water. Suppose if the load coming on the soil and the air voids, there again the load coming, that is the load is resisted by soil and air, and again here the resistance due to air is negligible. It is almost all the loads is resisted by soil. So this is a specific cases. Generally, in nature, we come across a partially saturated soil or saturated soil. Rarely we come across a dry soil. When soil is dry, then the load coming on the soil is resisted by the soil alone, with exception of small air voids. When it is coming on partially saturated system, again here soil resisted, that the load is resisted by soil and water. Here if it is all voids are completely filled by water, then it is resisted by soil and water. If you compare a material, if load coming on the material the entire load is resisted by the material alone, whereas if load coming on the soil, the entire load is not resisted by soil, but it is resisted by soil and water in case of partially saturated system. In case of saturated system, it is soil and water. In case of dry soil, it is soil and air. It is only air, since air is negligible, only soil. Means whatever the stress here developed or induced in soil, it is not the direct stress. It is the combination of stress due to soil and water. Again, it is combination of stress due to soil and water. Only in case of dry soil, it is stress or resistance offered by soil is against load is soil. As we know that it is soil is open and it will receive everything, like it receives everything, it will receive water also. And we know that the importance of water in soil. Importance means in the compaction chapter we discussed that water is required up to optimum level. That optimum water will help in deciding the density of the soil, desired density of soil. Beyond that, it is not useful. To decide the strength of soil, whenever we come across saturated soil system, or partially saturated system, we should consider both soil and water separately. So here, for a saturated soil, when load coming on saturated soil, part of the load is resisted by soil and part of the load is resisted by water. But water in the soil is not permanent. With the passage of time, this water gets removed, or water may be there for a long time, or we can remove this water. So water stay back, or we can remove this water. Depends upon the situation, whether the water is there for a long time or water can be removed. To decide the resistance offered by the soil or strength of the soil, we should consider the resistance offered by soil and water separately. And that concept is known as separating the resistance offered by soil and resistance offered by water and deciding the strength of the soil, and that concept is known as effective stress concept. And this effective stress concept is introduced by Carl Terzaghi in 1936, and he gave a relationship that sigma bar is equal to sigma minus u, where sigma bar is equal to effective stress that is equal to sigma is equal to total stress minus u is equal to pore water pressure. The very basic idea of evolving the effective stress is to know the resistance offered by soil alone whenever we come across the saturated system. Contributes all engineering properties, particularly for shear strength and compressibility. Effective stress, that shear strength depends on effective stress, compressibility is also depends upon effective stress. Effective stress is equal to total stress minus pore water pressure. Pore water pressure can also be called as, that is pore water stress. Resistance offered by soil and water minus resistance offered by water alone is equal to effective stress. That is what we are interested. Suppose if you do not consider this effect of pore water pressure, and if you consider only the resistance offered by both soil and water, it will be total stress. And if you consider total stress in deciding shear strength parameters or compressibility behavior or strength of soil, then it is an apparent one. Than that, it is not the true stress, and it is the structure constructed on soil definitely leads to failure. If you decide the strength of soil based on effective stress and compressibility behavior based on effective stress, it is a true value. Effective stress does not have direct physical significance. It can be obtained by other two parameters, namely total stress and pore water pressure, and these total stress and pore water pressures having direct physical significance. Significance means effective stress cannot be obtained directly, whereas total stress and pore water pressure can be obtained directly, and by using this total stress and pore water pressure we can obtain shear stress, effective stress. So, here total stress is equal to stress or resistance offered by soil and water in total. Say for example, total stress at any given point below ground surface is equal to, say for example, say if you consider this is the ground level and this is the submerged condition. So, total stress at any given point is equal to the depth multiplied by the unit weight of soil and water, if it is a submerged condition like this. So, here depth multiplied by unit weight of soil and unit weight of water, that gives us the total stress. But this total stress will not take the load effectively, as this water below ground surface is a permanent or temporary. It will not serve the purpose. Hence, we should calculate total stress by considering both soil and water below ground surface, and we should also consider pore water pressure. So, total stress at any given point is equal to height multiplied by unit weight of soil and water, that is gamma is equal to z multiplied by gamma plus z multiplied by gamma w. Again, pore water pressure is the pressure developed inside the pore. Pore is nothing but voids. So, part of the load, when soil is saturated, part of the loads are resisted by the water present in the pores, and that pore water pressure developed in the pore will try to separate the soil particles, and hence this pore water pressure can also be called as neutral pressure. So, pore water pressure at any given point can be calculated or can be measured by just by inserting the piezometer or glass tube at the required level. So, we know total stress at any given point is equal to height multiplied by unit weight of soil and water. Pore water pressure which developed in the pore is known as pore water pressure against the load. Pore water pressure will try to separate the particles, hence it will neutralize the stresses developed in the soil. It can also be called as neutral pressure or neutral stress. Pore water pressure can be measured at any given point by inserting piezometer or glass tube. The head gives us the pore water pressure. So, knowing pore water pressure and total stress and total pore water pressure, we can calculate effective stress. Then what is this effective stress? Effective stress is the stress which can obtained by knowing the total stress and pore water pressure. Total stress minus pore water pressure gives us the effective stress. Here we can eliminate water pressure. When we eliminate water pressure, means water from the voids, we can achieve the grain to grain contact. So, when grain to grain contact is established, this will leads to the compression of soil, and also there develop the flexural resistance. When water is removed, there is compression of soil mass totally, and also there develop the flexural resistance. Flexural resistance means it is resistance against the bending. When both are take place and there is grain to grain contact, and that grain to grain contact will leads to the resistance against the load. that resistance is a true resistance, and this is known as effective stress. Hence, effective stress can also be called as intragranular stress. Effective stress is an important concept which helps us in deciding the strength of the soil, particularly strength and compressibility behavior. Effective stress does not have any direct physical significance. It can be obtained by using other two parameters which have direct physical significance, namely total stress and pore water pressure. Total stress, as the name itself implies, total stress in a soil at any depth is equal to the height at which stress is required multiplied by unit weight of water and unit weight of soil. Totally, we use both the soil as well as water to decide the total stress. Next, pore water pressure is the pressure which develops inside the pores or voids. As this pore water pressure will not press the soil particle, instead it will try to separate the soil particles, and it is called as neutral pressure. Effective stress can also be called as intragranular stress. When pore water pressure is removed from the total stress, there is removal of water voids along with pressure, and it causes compression in soil, and there is the development of flexural resistance. As a result, the particle to particle contact, and when we achieve particle to particle contact, the particles together will resist the load effectively. Hence, effective stress can also be called as intraparticle stress or particulate stress. This is about effective stress. So, in other materials directly we can obtain the stress, whereas in case of soil, particularly in under saturated condition, load coming on the soil is resisted by both soil and water, and that resisted load by soil and water is called as total resistance or total stress. But we need effective stress. Effective stress is equal to total stress minus pore water pressure. Pore water pressure developed in the soil can be measured by using the piezometer or glass tube, and total stress can be calculated directly. In nature, it is difficult to avoid water entering into the soil. In whatever the forum that flow take place, in the same forum you have to receive it. If possible, we can give suitable diagnosis at the construction site. If not, as it is, we can consider for the construction purpose by considering the system. System means considering the state, what is there in the voids, what is there the condition. Generally, we can categorize the soil water system into three categories, that is there is no flow. No flow means in soil water will not move, it is stagnated water. Another condition is flow from top to bottom, and third condition is flow from bottom to top. No flow means it is stagnated condition, there is no flow, there is soil and water is there. Second case, flow from top to bottom, and we will discuss again that when we come to that particular topics. So, in order to understand no flow condition, let us consider the soil water system by considering the containers. Let us consider two containers, one container filled with the water, the other container filled with soil and water. Let us consider this as container A, container B. Means water is there always in the soil. Let it be required to know the effective stress at the bottom of the soil. At the bottom of the soil means at the bottom of the container. So, we know effective stress sigma bar is equal to sigma minus u, where sigma bar is equal to effective stress, sigma is equal to total stress, and U is equal to pore water pressure. Sigma total stress is at the bottom of the container B is equal to, let us consider this depth as say H2 and this depth as say H1. Total stress at the bottom of the container B is equal to H2 into gamma saturated soil plus H1 into gamma W. So, total stress at any given point is equal to height multiplied by unit weight of soil and unit weight of water. Suppose if you insert piezometer at the bottom of the container B here, so water will rise up to the full height, means H2 plus H1. So, pore water pressure U is equal to H2 into gamma W plus H1 into gamma W, height multiplied by unit weight. So, effective stress, therefore, effective stress is equal to H2 gamma saturated plus H1 gamma W minus H2 gamma W minus H1 gamma W. So, here H1 gamma W, H1 gamma W gets cancelled, that is effective stress is equal to H2 into gamma saturated gamma W minus gamma W. Therefore, effective stress sigma bar is equal to H2 gamma saturated minus gamma W is nothing but gamma dash, that is nothing but submerged unit weight. Effective stress of the soil when there is no flow of water in soil is equal to H2 into the gamma dash. By considering this effective stress, we can have the shear strength parameters and compressibility, the behavior properties. Next, let us consider this flow from top to bottom. Again, consider two containers. Consider two containers A and B again, and the containers are interconnected. So, container B is filled with soil, and above that there is a water. In container A there is water, it is there is provision for overflow facilities. Flow from top to bottom. If it is required to calculate effective stress again at the bottom of container B, here total stress sigma is at the bottom of the container B is equal to H2 gamma saturated due to soil plus H1 gamma W plus H gamma W, and if you insert piezometer at the bottom of the container area, because there is a continuous flow of water here, it is discharge level is at lower level. If you insert piezometer here, water will rise only to this height, H2 plus H1. Therefore, pore water pressure UV is equal to H2 into gamma W plus H1 into gamma W. Therefore, effective stress sigma bar is equal to H2 gamma saturated plus H1 gamma W plus H gamma W minus H2 gamma W plus or minus H1 gamma W. So, H1 gamma W gets cancelled. It is if you take common factor H2 into gamma saturated minus gamma W plus H into gamma W. Therefore, sigma bar is equal to H2 into gamma saturated minus gamma W is nothing but gamma submerged unit weight plus H gamma W. So, this is the expression for effective stress when there is flow of water from top to bottom. This is what we expect civil engineers. If you permit water to flow from the soil, that removal of water leads to increase in the strength of the soil in terms of effective stress. So, when there is no flow, see here, effective stress sigma bar is equal to H2 into gamma dash. When provision has been made to move water from the site or from top to bottom, movement of water from top to bottom is nothing but it is removal of water. There is increase in the effective stress H2 gamma dash plus H gamma W. Next, third case is a flow from bottom to top. Again consider two containers. So, containers A and B are interconnected. Let it be required to find effective stress here at the bottom of the container B. You can see here. So, when water level is very much higher than the soil and water system, here the tendency is to move water in the upward direction from bottom to top because of this heavy head. Total stress here is equal to H2 plus gamma H1, H2 into gamma saturated plus H1 into gamma W, whereas pore water pressure is equal to H2 gamma W plus H1 gamma W minus plus H into gamma W. Here total stress is equal to H2 into gamma dash, gamma saturated plus H1 into gamma W, whereas pore water pressure U is equal to H2 gamma W plus H1 gamma W plus H gamma W. If you insert piezometer here, water will rise up to this level. Hence, pore water pressure is equal to H2 gamma W plus H1 gamma W plus H gamma W. Therefore, effective stress sigma bar is equal to H2 gamma saturated plus H1 gamma W minus H2 gamma W minus H1 gamma W minus H gamma W. So, H1 gamma W get cancelled, that is sigma bar is equal to H2 into gamma saturated minus gamma W, if you consider these two terms, minus H gamma W, that is equal to H2 gamma saturated minus gamma W is nothing but submerged unit weight minus H gamma W, that is effective stress. You can see here for the no flow condition, some amount of effective stress is there, strength is there in the soil, H2 to a magnitude of H2 into gamma dash. When we permit water to flow through soil, when we permit drainage or when we try to remove water from soil, there is increase in the effective stress, means increase in the effective strength to an amount of H gamma W. Suppose if water moves from bottom to top, you can see here effective stress is equal to H2 into gamma dash minus H gamma W. There is a decrease in the effective stress, considerable decrease in the effective stress, and we do not prefer this condition. Always if possible we try to have it as it is, if we try to have it this condition, if not that is, and we try to avoid this condition. Based on these three cases, we can decide the effective stress, and this effective stress governs shear strength as well as the compressibility behavior, volume change behavior. So, we will stop to this level and we will meet the next class for the remaining concept of this effective stress.